One of the most common questions right there on AI and Google is people searching about what they should do with investments, and particularly people that are in the trustee, personal representative, or beneficiary and fiduciary space. Now, I've been practicing for 25 years. A huge part of the practice involves people fighting in probate and in trusts, and I do both sides of it, right? So I represent trustees over here that are charged with managing the money that mom or dad pushed over here, and I represent beneficiaries over here that are saying, hey, dad left this money and he left you in charge and you're not managing it responsibly. So I understand both sides of this. I'm going to do this post here to try and be sort of Solomon, sit in the middle and give good advice for both sides on here. Now, I want both sides of this equation to think about this world we live in right now. There is no question that we live in the most volatile, fractured, frankly scary time that any of us have ever been on. If you're fortunate enough that you're on the trustee side and you're sitting on a couple $1,000,000, some are $5 and $10 million worth of mom, dad, grandmom, or your own money, and you're thinking about what do I do with this? Focusing on these people over here on the donor side, again, typically really responsible people. They've been fortunate. They've worked hard, they've been prudent, they've been responsible, and because of those qualities, they have amassed a big chunk of money over here. They have largely had the opportunity to work with very sophisticated, smart professionals in the professional class. There's entire industries out there of people that are charged with helping these individuals manage their money. They are financial advisors, they are accountants, they are attorneys, they are professionals who are charged with helping this fiduciary over here, this trustee, this personal representative, make sure they do their job correctly and make sure they fulfill their responsibilities under the Florida Trust Code, under the Florida Probate Code, to manage the money properly and fulfill the obligations that were given to them in the trust or in the probate, in the will. Someone trusted them and someone set them up over here to manage this money and make sure it's there for these folks on the other side. And in the vast majority of circumstances, these people do a good job. In the vast majority of circumstances, the professionals that represent them do a good job. Over the last decades, it's been easy. And this whole industry that's set up over here on the financial side of things has been stacked in the tax code and other legal avenues that allow them to just park this money in the equity market and allow that green line to go up. But if you're watching the world at all, if you have any kind of perception about what's happening out there in the world, I think we all understand that green line that's going up 50,000 in the Dow is wobbly. And I don't just think it's wobbly. I think that thing's going to just come crashing down. Trigger warning here. I'm going to get into politics. I'm going to get into scary analysis, and you may not like my politics. I don't think it's politics. I think it's just black and white, raw analysis of what's happening out there in the world. But here's the deal. Because of what's happening geopolitically, that green line that's been going up there, that favor for which the United States has been treated, it is not going to last. Not only is it not going to last, I think because of what's going on out there, it's just going to come crashing down. And again, I don't care what your politics are. I want you to just think with your rational mind, and I don't care whether you're on the donor side or on the beneficiary side. I want us all to take a deep breath at the family dinner table and think about what's happening out there. Imports down, exports down. The United States that was the reserve currency, that $100 bill, which was the gold standard around the world, is very much in crisis right now, and it is reaching a fever pitch. And don't go any further than this video if you want, but if you want to get the most rational explanation for what's happening out there, I'll drop the link in here to Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada, in his speech, the World Economic Forum. It was just this really reasoned, responsible, intelligent conversation about the world economic market and the United States right now as this destructive force. And again, I don't care what your politics are. Listen to what Mark Carney said about the insanity that's happening in the United States economy right now and what Canada's response to that has been. Canada, which has massive amounts of resources, oil and ore for metals and fertilizer, in a very stable economy that we need down here north of the border. But for reasons that defy any kind of logic or rational explanation, us south of the border have just put a big old middle finger to our friends north of the border. And what has Canada done? Well, they've kind of reoriented their economic focus, and very easy for them to just kind of turn their aperture and focus on Europe, focus on China, which has some easier routes there, hopscotch the United States and go down to Mexico and Latin America. Anyway, that's a little bit dense. But if you are watching any of this with a mind of a fiduciary, you think to yourself, what will happen when we wake up one day and that market that's been doing this all of a sudden goes going down here? Well, what will happen is if you are that trustee, that beneficiary, that fiduciary, you will wish that you had listened to this video and taken prudent steps to pull some of that money out of this market that you've ridden high and put it somewhere stable and secure and rational. And I would just make the argument for this very practical conversation about, if this was granddad, grandmom's money, maybe they were in Wisconsin, maybe they were from Tennessee or whatever else like that, and you're the trustee, would granddad say, son, you did well by me when you took that money out of that crazy stock market that maybe dad wasn't so wild about anyway, granddad wasn't. You took some of that money out of there and you bought a lake house in Tennessee, kept it in the trust name. The XYZ family trust, the Smith family trust buys this property in Tennessee. And then you as the trustee, the personal representative, announce to this entire beneficiary class down here, guys, I want to announce that in honor of granddad and grandmom's memory and legacy, what I have done is I have purchased this property here on the lake in Tennessee, in Ohio, in Florida, in northern New York or whatever, and it is now the family property. And I am encouraging everyone here on the beneficiary class, kids, grandkids, cousins, friends of all of you people, to start thinking about this location as the place where you are all welcome to come and honor granddad's legacy, grandmom's legacy by participating in the family estate. So this argument here is to remove some of granddad's wealth, some of this fortune that he put on there, and put it somewhere that the entire beneficiary class can take advantage of. And use this as an opportunity, not just to secure the money, because under the Prudent Investor Rule, I would argue that if you keep all this money in the crazy stock market, you are violating your duties under the Florida Trust Code and the Florida Probate Code, because you're not acting as a prudent investor. It's reckless to keep all that money sitting over here in the financial market. But not just on that technical side, on the very practical, warm, fuzzy side, thinking about what your duty as a trustee or personal representative is. You've established now this family vacation spot, this family place, a place where the grandkids are welcome to go, a place where the grandkids are encouraged to bring their friends from college, their friends from high school. The cousins show up there and get together. And again, trustee, honor the legacy of mom, dad, or grandmom. Think about a big, messy dinner with hamburgers and hot dogs and kids running all over the place and throwing trash and Coke bottles and Coke cans and just making a huge mess. But think about the joy associated with that on the one hand. On the other hand, you got this money sitting in the stock market. Who the hell cares? Are they really getting the benefit out of there? And if you're the trustee, again, this pitch here is grab that money out of there now while you can. Secure it in dirt, in a family estate that these people are going to benefit from for the very long term. That is my passionate plea to you. For all of you people, no matter what side you're on, if you're trying to have this family discussion about what to do with the trustee money, what to do with the probate money, share this video together. Come together with a consensus that doing this makes sense, that honors the legacy of mom, dad, grandmom. Share it.